Good afternoon, first grade. Today we're going to start making our delicious homemade pizza here in art class. Our pizza, however, will be a little bit more gluten and dairy free. The first two things we're going to need are our red construction paper for our sauce and our tan construction paper for our crust. For this project you'll also need one paper plate, a bottle of glue, one pencil, and one jumping pair of scissors. The very first thing you'll need to do in order to make our delicious, tasty crust and our very flavorful sauce is to take your two pieces of construction paper and your plate. Put your plate on top of your construction paper just like this. You might have it touching the edges. It might hang over just a bit, but that's all right. You want to get it in the center of it just as well as you can. I like to have mine touching three edges so it's less for me to cut. Then you take your pencil and you trace your plate as best you can to draw a circle onto your sauce. After you have your circle on your sauce, you're going to do the same with your crust. Whoa! We want to do the best circle we can, so please try not to bump it, just like I just did. We've got a circle on here. And now we've got to do a circle on our crust. So we're going to line it up just the same way, touching three edges, so you have the smallest amount to cut, and begin to trace all the way around our plate, holding the plate in place with our other hand. Now that we have our circles on, we're ready to cut. We've got to cut both of these circles out. Since we're still working on our cutting skills, I would suggest cutting them separately, even though you're cutting the same thing out twice. And we're always going to hold the scissors, or hold the paper with our other hand away from the scissors, and cut away from ourselves. Turning the paper as we go so we don't hurt our wrists as we cut. So we're cutting diligently, and voila! We have it cut out already. We have two perfect circles, more or less, for our crust and our pizza sauce. What we need to do now, before we can assemble these, is a little bit of something to each piece. For our crust, we need to write two things on the back side. We need to write our name and our teacher, the first two letters, dash the grade we're in. So for me, I wrote name and TE-1. For you, you'll write your name and the first two letters of your teacher name, dash your grade. Then, we need to make our sauce very saucy. Sauce on pizza is hardly ever a perfectly straight line. So our sauce should not be a perfectly straight line. It should be all liquidy, all zigzaggy, all wavy. And so what we're going to do is take our scissors and all the way around this edge, we're going to cut a wavy line into our pizza. We're going to go back and forth as we cut just a little bit off the edge. It doesn't have to be perfect. Of course, this will later be covered up by toppings. But we want to do our personal best to create a wavy line that goes all the way around. Now, boys and girls, I know this is going to be very difficult for you because we are just developing those first grade cutting skills. But remember, we're going to revisit this project at the end of the school year to see how much we've learned and grown over the year. So do your personal best to do it this time, and I bet by the time you do it again at the end of the year, you'll have no problem whatsoever getting that wavy line all the way around. The next thing we're going to do, or the last step we have to do today to make our crust and our sauce, is to glue them together. Gluing, especially with a glue bottle, can be very tricky. So here are my tips on gluing. First, make sure your glue bottle's nozzle is cleaned off nice and clean. Otherwise, it could have gunk in it. Make sure it's nice and open. And it's got good pressure. This one, not so good. Let me grab another. So this one has much better pressure, but it has gunk in it. Oh my, the sad state of glue in our classroom. All right, I picked a winner. We've got 1 bottle full of glue, ready to squirt everywhere. Now the next step, after you've got the right glue bottle, is to make sure that you always glue your small piece to your big piece. So you're always going to put your glue on the smaller piece of paper. If you put your glue on the bigger piece of paper, you run the risk of not gluing the right part. And then the glue's over here and your paper's over here. So we're always going to glue on the small. And when we glue on the small, we're going to do just a little bit. Just a dab'll do ya. So we're doing little dots on all of our points. And then we're going to do a few more little dots inside. I know it doesn't look like much glue, but boys and girls, this is more than enough to hold our sauce in place. Plus, it has that nice design effect. So we're going to put it onto our pizza crust. We're going to pat it down to make sure it's nice and smooth on there. And we've got our crust and our sauce assembled. We've got our name and our teacher on the back, and we're ready to put this on the drying rack and work on our coloring sheet. Thank you.